Howdy folks, Eric here, back with another standard brew. Today, Gloria the Great Armorer. I don't remember the card's name in paper, to be honest with you. 3 mana, 3/3, spider from the Spider-Man set. Whenever you attack, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature, and whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. We're playing Boros Modified today. Modified, a mechanic where if you have a creature that either has like a counter on it, or if it's equipped or has an aura on it, it typically gains some additional abilities, or things reference modified. We are on the Optimistic Scavenger Wonderweave Aerialist core. Got a little bit of spice here too in Summon Brynhilder, a card that self modifies essentially by being a saga creature. And it's essentially Boros auras is really what the deck is. 4 Ethereal Armor, 4 Seam Rip, 4 Shard Mage's Rescue, 4 Demonic Ruckus, 4 Sheltered by Ghosts, of course, and our favorite non-creature, a Most Helpful Weaver. This deck is super aggressive. It has some crazy starts. The Ward from Wonderweave Aerialist makes you, it's the best creature to be stacking a bunch of auras on. And the interesting thing about this version specifically, it grinds decently if you have a Glory on the field, but really it's like the pace at which you're able to just dump a bunch of auras onto something is really high because of Demonic Ruckus having plot. So you can, if you pay 1 red on turn 1 to plot this, and then cast an Aerialist, you can modify it right away, and then follow that up with Ethereal Armors, etc., etc. The other nice thing about this line too is Wonderweave Aerialist is often a little soft to like torch the tower or shock effects. One mana, deal 2 damage. But if you say you're on the draw, right, and your opponent has 3 mana available with a shock on their turn 3, they can deal with your Aerialist, but not if you have a plotted Demonic Ruckus to immediately put on the Aerialist. That gets it out of at least shock range. If they have torch, that'll still work, but pretty nice little synergy there, I think. We're on 21 lands today. We get to be on Abandoned Air Temple, one way to further this modified idea. It's a good mana dump if we get flooded. The idea really is not to get flooded and to just play out a pretty fast aggro hand. Our sideboard, we are on 2 Bulwark Ox and 4 Windcrag Siege. These are both for like grindy control matchups with a lot of removal. Windcrag Siege being sort of the Urabresk's Forge idea, where you bring in this like resilient permanent that is otherwise, not soft to board wipes, which the rest of the deck is quite soft to board wipes. For Petrify, I like this as an answer to Earthbent lands. Badgermole Cub decks, if they play Badgermole Cub turn 2, you just petrify their Earthbent Forest or what have you, and you shut down that land, basically stone raining your opponent. 3 Rest in Peace, of course, and then a couple unwanted remakes. Usually giving an opponent a manifested creature is really not a big deal in this deck, because we're on like Sheltered by Ghosts and we have these like big flying creatures. Giving them an extra 2/2 is not really a metric by which we will lose. So having access to instant speed removal against like the Kona decks and the Ouroboros decks, I think that's a little important. It's a really fun deck, really sweet, really fast. I've not seen anything like this before. Gonna jump into some ranked matches. Hope it plays well, and we'll see you then. All right, match number 1 on the play here. Pretty much exactly where we want to be, and we get to do the thing, although this Abandoned Air Temple is going to come in untapped currently. So it's probably a little better. I mean, I'm going to keep this anyway, but it's probably a little better to lead on the Temple and then just maybe go for a turn 2 Helpful Weaver. This card is really sick in this deck. A lot of the times you can just end the game if you manage to get that 3rd trigger to give target creature you control double strike until end of turn with like a flying Aerialist that has an Ethereal Armor on it. Typically that's lethal in most situations. Lead on this Abandoned Air Temple. See what our opponent's up to. Stomping Ground. In that case, I think I'm just going to go Wonderweave Aerialist. In case they have like a shock effect, that's a little better at this juncture. And then I think we can just kind of start to soup up the area list, probably pretty freely. Let's just go for the ethereal armor, see if they decide to do anything about that. There's probably not anything that they can do. I think I'm just going to plot this demonic ruckus. Summon Fenrir. Okay. Kind of rewarded for going all out here. Most helpful Weaver. Let's just kind of continue to go all in. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot that they can do at this point to kill this. 6/6 flyer. Coming in pretty hot. First strike. Ward 2. And in this list, their main source of removal is probably just like damage from an Overlord of the Boiler Biggles. So I think we can afford to just go all in here. I actually think we probably just have lethal. So this will be 9, and then I can just play 2 Seam Rips. I don't have to exile anything. Swinging for 11. Boom. I mean, yeah, that's the idea. Wrap it up. Wrap up the video. We just did the thing. That's the perfect example of what we're trying to do. I mean, it helped that our opponent didn't have any interaction. I'm gonna guess this is the like random encounter sort of like maybe they're on what's the smuggler surprise? Something like that. So I think we should have a pretty good shot against that list. They'll probably have maybe pyroclasms to bring in. Just something we have to play around. Bulwark Ox probably can skip on that here. Unwanted Remake could be okay. I think I like our deck as it is for the most part. Maybe you could make an argument for the Windcrag Siege. Hop into game 2 here. I think this is a pretty decent hand. Let's just go ahead and lead on this plotted Demonic Ruckus. And then we can play it a little slow here. I don't think I want to jam this Scavenger quite yet. I need to play it and be able to hold up Shard Mage's Rescue, I think, here. They're ramping to have enough mana to impend Boiler Biggles, so shout out to the GOAT, by the way. If you know, you know. Go for the Scavenger. They could have like a shock here, which could complicate things. Go for the Ruckus. Okay. Dodged instant speed removal here, which is good. Drawing some lands, maybe a little too many lands. My land count might be a little high. I'm not super sure. We have a little more like cycling and advantage than a typical sort of enchantment aggro deck might in like our demonic ruckuses and the triggers from Gloria. I guess I go for a Shard Mage's Rescue here. And summon Brynhilders, you know? So in some ways that's an argument to cut some lands. In some ways that I think I'm just going to Seam Rip. In some ways that is an argument to like bump the land count because you're capable of filtering through your deck more. I don't know. Swinging for big. 8/7 Menace Trample Lifelink Ward 2. Not first strike quite yet, but pretty good attacker. Menace is sufficient evasion most of the time, you know, along with the tramples. Pretty nice. See if they can deal with this. Great first matchup to run into. They don't really have the kind of interaction you need to be able to deal with this. Destroying the Shelter by Ghost to take me off of lifelink. There's an Aerialist. I think I just hold on to that for now. Swinging for 7 here. Play a tapped passage. We're mostly mono white, so the land in these colors, or sorry, the mana in these colors is really good. Is maybe one other reason to do it over green. where currently, you know, without Temple Garden in the format, green's mana is pretty awful. I mean, aren't they just dead to this? Just Seam Rip the Elf? I don't know. Yeah, okay. Green's mana is pretty awful. And Boros, however, not only they have fast lands, they have the Verges, they have Surveil lands, they have Shock lands. It's like you can make that, you can be pretty much mono white and make your red splash really, really cleanly. Great first match. Let's head into the next one. All right. Match number 2. Really good hand, I think. We get to go turn 1 Scavenger, turn 2 kind of the world's our oyster. No protection here, no huge payoffs, but I think the mana is pretty good. Turn 1 Island. I think I'm pretty happy to go into turn 1 Scavenger against turn 1 Island most of the time. If you see turn 1 Island, often it means they're on red as well. In the current meta, okay. Tragic Trajectory, not the end of the world. Siren. You know, I think I'm just going to Seam Rip the Siren here. In case they have Kaito. I could just like maybe block with a Weaver token. You know, it's a 2/1 reach spider, but I think I'd rather just get that off the field. Summon Brynhilder. Okay, pretty cool. So I think I'm going to go... Let's go for the Aerialist first here. See if they maybe just counter this. I'm kind of okay if they do that. Our hand is pretty threat heavy. Let's play this tapped Sacred Foundry, and then that sets us up pretty nicely for the Summon Brynhilder next turn, in case we hit a land, and then maybe we get a haste off of the Aerialist. Individually, Summon Brynhilder might be the weakest card in the deck here, but it has its moments. Let's go for Brynhilder here. See what we hit. Seam Rip, not super relevant right now. Play the Verge. Let's get the Aerialist online. That way if they just tap out for a Kaito, I can threaten to swing at it. They're going to get some triggers off this Preacher of the Schism, which you never really love to see. They'll get the 1/1 and draw a card. I don't think there was really anything I could do about that. No blocks here. Can't make it that easy for them. Okay, I'm sensing like an Enduring Curiosity. We have enough mana to activate Abandoned Air Temple, which is kind of nice. I think I'm just going to go for the Seam Rip on this Vampire here. Use it while I have it. And then I think I'm just going to jam Demonic Ruckus right now. I guess I'll shock myself first. I'm going to end up doing that anyway. They might kill it in response. They might Flood Pit's Drowner and stun it. Yeah. Okay, not the end of the world. And then rather than attack in with the Summon Brynhilder here, I think I'm just going to hold back blocks. It's not long for this world anyway. It'd be more meaningful to trade with the Drowner at this juncture. Or, I guess, just chump the Preacher. I don't think we're that likely to win this one. This seems like a pretty tough matchup generally. Dimir is not that popular in the meta right now, but they have the kind of interaction that's pretty good into this matchup. I think Windcrag Siege could be decent though. They might struggle with the Windcrag Siege plus Abandoned Air Temple plan from the sideboard. Okay, Demonic Ruckus draws us a card. You know, maybe we just double block the Preacher here. Just get it out of my life. I don't know that I'm winning the game either way. I don't get to like maximize the Air Temple here, but at the very least, if they have nothing else going on, this slows them down. Deep Cavern Bat. I think I'm pretty happy to pack this one in. 5 cards in hand. Pretty likely that they'll be able to close this one out, and you just gotta know when you're beat sometimes. Let's bring in the sieges. Seems pretty interesting to me. I think Bulwark Ox has its place in this matchup as well. We can go down. Ethereal Armor is not necessarily the way we're going to be winning this one. It's pretty fast 2-for-1 a lot of the time for them if they deal with our Ethereal Armor creature. I think it's probably just better to play around, I don't know, like get one guy out with a Shelter by Ghosts and win that way. You know, obviously Ethereal Armor's strong. I don't know. Maybe you don't cut it on the play. Seam Rip seems good. Shelter by Ghosts. I think we can go down to 2 maybe. Same with the Summon Brynhilders. Summon Brynhilder kind of dies to a lot of their stuff. Go down a couple Ruckuses as well. Try it like this. I'm not super positive what to do here. I think Windcrag Siege looks pretty decent. Hopefully we can lean into that. Gotta mulligan this. 1 land. Gotta mulligan this as well, unfortunately. Gonna be a rough one. Okay. Gonna keep this. Let's put back the Optimistic Scavenger. It's cheap, but it's the kind of card that they're actually like pretty effective against generally. And let's put back the Gloria and try it out like this. We can lead on Temple, go turn 2 Helpful Weaver. There's a Scavenger. I guess we'll do that first. Not a huge difference here between the Weaver and the Scavenger, I think. Bulwark Ox. I think I'm going to get the Bulwark Ox in play. Makes a little more sense to me. They probably have removal for the Scavenger if they want to anyway. And this maybe makes them think about killing the Ox. I think I'm not going to swing in case they have Floodpit Drowner. If I were them, I think I would take the kind of 2-for-1 of like tapping the Ox and blocking the Scavenger. If they want to swing in though... Okay, not swinging in. Not a huge deal here. I think we just have to like draw a land and cross our fingers that they don't have Phantom Interference for this Windcrag Siege. Oh, they decide to go for the shuffle. Or they're thinking about going for the shuffle. There's a land. Let's jam. We don't need more red sources, so we can just put this on white. Cross our fingers that this is pretty good. Hope they don't have counter magic. We have the Abandoned Air Temple as well. And they can't like fully shut this down with a Tishana's Tidebinder. Lines up nicely with their creatures. Hasty threat for Kaito every turn. Gives us something to do with our auras, essentially, is kind of the idea too. Okay, swinging in, drawing a couple cards here. Well, we have a Shelter by Ghosts for the Curiosity. It'd be nice if we could put it on a creature that has a counter for like extra backup protection, but I think I just have to get it off the field right now. It'd be nice if Bulwark Ox gave Hexproof and Indestructible to modified creatures. That would be really big game for us. Duress, gonna be able to take this Most Helpful Weaver. They probably have some kind of removal for my Goblin, although maybe they just have another Enduring Curiosity. Swinging in. My turn. Make another Goblin. Wonderweave Aerialist. I think I'm going to go summon Brynhilder, crew up the Ox, swing in and put a counter on this Sheltered by Ghosted Goblin to be able to protect it in the future. I guess they could just block with Floodpit's Drowner. So I guess I could swing with both of them, and then if they do block with Floodpit's Drowner, I just sacrifice the Ox. Still get a decent little result there. Sheltered by Ghosts. Okay, not a bad hit. I missed my window to saddle. Well, that's okay. Let's just swing in for 1. Start recouping some life. They kind of seems like they don't maybe have a whole lot going on here. Firing up the Restless Reef. Kind of seems like they don't have a whole lot going on here. Okay. Great. Well, I'm gonna take this hit. I'll go to 1. And then I get to crack back for a pretty big hit next turn with this Sheltered by Ghosts. And a Shard Mage's Rescue backup. That's pretty huge. Let's put this on another Goblin, I think. No, I think I can put it on a Bulwark Ox. At this point, I'm not probably going to give up the Ox. Do one of these. Exile a Drowner. Let's crew with this Goblin here. I'm going to need to be able to block 2 things, I think, next turn. Restless Reef plus a Drowner. I guess we block with the Sheltered by Ghost Goblin. I'm not swinging with it. I'm not blocking with it. Swing in. Swing in. Put a counter on the Bulwark Ox. Now it's a 4/3 lifelinker with Ward 2. Fighting back into this one. Wouldn't mind getting to enough mana to start activating the Air Temple here. Windcrack Siege playing out pretty nicely here, giving me a lot of material over the course of these turns to work with. Swinging in. Mills me. Get some information. Block. Back to me. Kind of feeling pretty good now. A land is a good draw. Play this Aerialist. Saddle up the Ox. You know, I'm going to saddle up the Ox with this non-lifelinking Goblin. And I'm not going to swing with this Sheltered by Ghost Goblin in case they happen to have another Flood Pits Drowner. That'd be a pretty fast way to lose this one, I think. And we're in a pretty commanding position. They'd have to have Day of Black Sun pretty much exactly, which would absolutely ranch us and put us out of the game. But kind of looks like they don't have that in hand. Stab on top. Okay, make another Goblin. Ethereal Armor. Ethereal Armor's kind of nice with it. So we can Ethereal Armor this Sheltered by Ghosted Goblin, taking it out of stab range. We can further protect it with Shard Mage's Rescue, and it'll become a 1, 2, 3, 4, 6/5 First Striker. I think that's pretty good. I hear that's good. Let's saddle up again. We can just swing out with everything here, I think. They kind of have to block the 6/5, right? So they can block Bulwark Ox with the Preacher, block Spyglass Siren with the Goblin, and then take currently 5, could be upwards of 7. So maybe I don't swing with the Ox. Maybe I just swing like this. This way they don't have any good blocks, and they do have to block. And we know they have the stab on top, which is not going to be a particularly effective draw here. I think they needed to surveil that into the graveyard. Okay. Good game. Windcrack Siege pulling a lot of weight there. Let's reconsider this a little bit. Shelter by Ghosts. The lifelink seems kind of important, but really helps you get ranched pretty heavily by Day of Black Sun, which I'm assuming they're on. Maybe we want the Brynhilders back. And maybe do something like this. Cut down a couple Ethereal Armors, go up the Brynhilders for value. Make us a little less soft to big board wipes if we have these more value creatures. We'll try it like that. It's an interesting deck. I think it's got a lot of play. I mean, obviously the best thing we can be doing is just like souping up a guy and trying to close out the game on turn 3 or 4. And cross our fingers that our opponent doesn't have any way to interact with that. But outside of that, it's got a decent amount of play. I think this is a good hand. They brought in Duresses. So were they to like turn 1 Duress us and find that as an attractive option, this is pretty good into that. Plus, I'd like to show off Gloria a little bit. She hasn't really had a chance to shine in this video yet. Could be cool if she does anything, although it's pretty likely that she gets removed quickly. Lead on the tapped temple. We don't have a whole lot of basics, so this is going to come in tapped pretty often, but not the end of the world, because we're not always trying to do something on turn 1, necessarily. I might even just skip turn 2 as well, play the second Abandoned Air Temple, and then go for Brynhilder on turn 3. Although, Flood Pit's Drowner mana... No, let's just go Inspiring Vantage, pass. They might flash in the Drowner. And then we go Brynhilder next turn, see if we hit a land off the exile, play it if we do, so on and so forth. Curve out that way. Wouldn't mind drawing like a Shard Mage's Rescue to support the Shelter by Ghosts. Oh, there's an Optimistic Scavenger. I think I'm going to go for that over anything else here. Play the Scavenger and then play the Brynhilder. Try to get some things on the board. Relevant bodies to set up this Gloria. Now they're both modified here. Flood Pit's Drowner. Part 2. They've got a pretty decent board here. Gloria and Exile. Okay, that's not bad. If our Brynhilder lives, that's pretty good. Brynhilder is dead. Another Shelter by Ghosts, huh? Well, get busy living or get busy dying, I think. I think I'm just going to go double Shelter by Ghosts. Is that crazy? They could have instant speed interaction here. Or maybe I'll just go single Shelter by Ghosts. That makes their next turn a little harder. I'm imagining they have like an Enduring Curiosity in hand. Is this Stab? Ooh, Bitter Triumph. Okay. All right. We're not out of this yet. We are if they play an Enduring Curiosity, probably. Another Bitter Triumph. They decide to keep that on top. Probably pretty smart. Oh, Shard Mage's Rescue. Okay, nice. I'm going to shock myself. No, I can't really shock myself here. I just have to hope they don't have Phantom Interference. Okay. Put this on white. Unlocks our Sunbillow Verges for red mana if we need it. And then we have the Shard Mage's Rescue. Very timely. Set up into this Shelter by Ghosts. Yeah, we could turn it around here. And they just have a land. Okay. Huge for us. Huge for us. So we get to resolve this Shelter by Ghosts on the Gloria. And start getting life back. And start drawing cards. And ramping her power and toughness with her own ability here. Kinda disgusting. This doesn't give them a whole lot of time to find an answer. I think I'm just going to exile the Siren here, probably. I can still swing into these Drowners, and the Siren is a little more annoying as a 2/2 flyer, I think, ultimately. Swing in, puts a counter on itself as it attacks. Get to exile the top card of our library. Play it. Another area. Okay, Aerialist is a pretty sweet hit here with our Abandoned Air Temples. Deep Cavern Bat. Whiffs. I'd say we're in the driver's seat now. Huge series of draws. We'll take this damage. Crack back here. Demonic Ruckus. It's probably better to Ruckus the Aerialist. Oh no, maybe we just Ruckus the Gloria. It kind of forces them to block it with nearly everything. That's pretty disgusting. And we get to trample in. And maybe it makes sense to put a counter on the Aerialist here too to trigger the Gloria. Causing a Ruckus. Bulwark Ox. Woo! GG. Unless they draw, Day of Black Sun. That's the only thing that gets them out of this, I think. And even then, they'd have to kill their Drowners, so they're not, like, out of it at that point. Nice match. Great start with this sweet deck, dude. This deck is sweet. Moving into match 3. All right, match 3. On the draw. Got a mulligan this hand. This is actually pretty okay, I think. Double Seam Rip. I mean, it really depends on what we're up against, but I think I'm going to skip on the most helpful Weaver here. Hope that I get to land a turn 2 Aerialist and go that way. Okay. Llanowar Elves, we like to see that here. I'm going to go for the Optimistic Scavenger first here. That way, if we need to Seam Rip something next turn, we at least get a little payoff for it. Cub. Big mana. Doing the big mana Cub thing. Another Cub. Yuck. Ethereal Armor. Okay. Well, I guess I'll keep them off of Crater Hoof Behemoth mana. I can't believe I'm saying that. Referencing their possible turn 3 play in Standard is Crater Hoof Behemoth. Anyway. Swing for 2. I think I would take this trade. They block. Fine. They just have land or a Boroid. Bristly Bill. Land. Esper Origins. We can still win this. We just have to hit some land drops and soup up this Aerialist big. There's a land. Aerialist. Now we need to see another land. Go Scavenger, Sheltered by Ghosts. Start getting some life back. Exile this Esper Origins. Definitely not out of this. Also, definitely not out of the woods. Probably have to deal with this Bill also to keep them from activating this ability, having like this ability, having a mana dump here. No blocks. It's gonna be a tight one. I think we go Scavenger, Seam Rip Bill this turn, and then next turn we can Shelter by Ghosts. I can hold back a blocker here. I think that's kind of relevant. Badgermole Cub. Bossing Say, pretty good for them. They can swing in for 4 here. Still wouldn't mind a land. Okay, swinging in for a little chunk here. Still not going to block. Wouldn't mind a land to be able to double spell next turn. But I'm not looking too bad. There's a land. Huge. Alright, get whomped on. Get whomped on. And I don't feel the least bit bad about it. Just don't Crater Hoof me, bro. Boop. Just don't Crater Hoof me, bro. Escape Tunnel. Doing Bossing Say stuff. Pretty cute. Swinging in. Alright, well, I think you're dead. I think you're dead. Maybe not quite. Helpful Weaver. Big flyer. I guess I can leave back a chumper. This 1 extra damage from the Scavenger, not really relevant. Bop ya. Maybe play some removal. Void deck. Did we get there? Kind of feels like we got there. I guess they could do like Might Form Harmonizer shenanigans. Yeah, but they don't have trample. Yeah, they're going in on the wrong thing here. They maybe should have like escaped tunneled first. None of this matters because I just get to block it. Okay, game 2. Maybe if they had given it unblockable and started doubling, like the Badgermole Cub. Yeah, they didn't have enough land drops there, though. They did not have enough. Block? GG. Love to see it. Love to see it. Love to smash those decks. Okay. Bring in instant speed removal. Bring in the Petrifies. Let's cut down on... I think Summon Brynhildr is not necessary here, essentially. And it has a hard time swinging in. And it's something that we don't really want to buff either. That's a source of tension in this deck a little bit, is that we're so aura heavy. And this is a creature that inherently dies. But I think it's decent in other matchups. I don't know. Maybe you just like play main deck Windcrag Siege over the Brynhildrs. Kind of an interesting idea. Gives you a good grindy angle with the air temples in all matchups. Something to think about. It's a little slow. Well, what else do we want to cut? Always keep the Shard Mage's Rescue in. People are just prepared with single target removal. Maybe cut a land on the draw here. So go down 1 air temple. And then... probably a Demonic Ruckus. Maybe a Gloria. Gloria also has kind of the same issue, but it works really nicely with the Aerialist, where you can turn 2 Aerialist, turn 3 Gloria, swing with Aerialist, and guarantee that you get a counter on it to fly over. Got a mulligan this. I think that's pretty obvious. Pretty solid hand. We have an answer to the turn 2 Cub here. Put back a land. Tapped Sacred Foundry. Badgermole Cub. Opponent is playing at lightning speed. Stone Rain them. See if that does anything to him. It kind of seems like it's doing a lot to him. All right. Let's set up this Helpful Weaver. And I think we seam rip the Cub regardless here, probably. Just to keep them off of a body to... like harmonize, etc., etc. I think this is okay. Royal Treatment. Fine. Pretty good result for us there, I think. No blocks. All right, Stone Rain on the Cub token, looking pretty... the Earthbent land is looking pretty tight. Let's go for a Sheltered by Ghosts. They won't be able to interact with this spider anymore because they're so low on mana. Yeah, I think I'm fine exiling this, paying the ward. And I think we just go all in here. There's maybe not a whole lot they can do with this Petrify on the on the Earthbent Forest. Get absolutely fucked, by the way. I'm sorry if you're watching this. Okay, good match, good match, good match. I don't feel bad at all, but I do feel a little bad for saying get fucked. But at the same time, you know what you did. All right, let's move into match 4. All right, match 4 on the play against Nebuchadnezzar. Great hand. I think we just want to start playing our things out blind, probably. We could think about turn 1 Abandon Air Temple, but I think this is okay. Alternatively, maybe you play the tapped Abandon Air Temple and then plot Demonic Ruckus on turn 2. But this should play out pretty nicely. We can go turn 2 Scavenger, soup it up, make sure that we resolve this, and then be able to hold up Shard Mage's Rescue through removal. Pretty solid start. 3/3 Menace Trample. Turn 2. Only looking to get bigger. Land is not a bad draw there, being able to play the Weaver next turn and continue to hold up Shard Mage's Rescue. This deck is kind of playing awesome so far. 3-0 off the bat. Really, really impressive games. Sideboard playing against the Cub worked really nicely. Sideboard playing against Dimir worked out pretty nicely. See what our opponent's up to. Meticulous Archive. Plus the meta this kind of deck is just not in the meta at all right now. And so I don't think people are, like, expect it. You know what I mean? Let's let them target the Scavenger here. Go for the Shard Mage's Rescue. Now Scavenger is big enough to avoid their, like, damage-based removal. Summon Brynhildr. I think that's a pretty good draw, actually. Let's go for this over the Most Helpful Weaver first. Let's start putting the counters on Brynhildr. A Seam Rip. We could Seam Rip their Seam Rip for a little extra damage here. That's actually probably correct. I don't think Summon Brynhildr is likely long for this world. Although it gives them a way to re-Seam Rip if they wanted to at instant speed. I don't know. It's interesting. Let's go in on the Scavenger here. Spread out the level a little bit, I suppose. Swing in for 6. So now they have to have Get Lost on Scavenger. I don't think they do. By the way they just passed there, they would have just ripped it. So I can play Gloria. It might just get countered, and then I'm susceptible to, like, a board wipe next turn. I think I'm just going to swing, make them answer this, let them do their board wipe thing next turn, and then I can continue to rebuild from there. Put them down to 5. Play a tapped Temple, pass it to them. You know, they kind of just have to have a board wipe now. So they might be forced to consult the star charts and dig for one. One other card that might be better than Summon Brynhildr, just Slick Shot Show Off. You know, much more aggressive. Haste is a huge deal. I'm gonna try to jam. I guess I'll go for the Helpful Weaver here. It's probably better to do that and then set up into the Gloria. And I can cast Gloria with mana to pay for No More Lies. See if they just kill this, I guess. Okay. Kind of in a tough spot. I think this game 1 is going to be typically pretty hard in this matchup. They have main deck removal that lines up really nicely with what we're doing. Play a land. Play a Gloria. No counter magic. See what they have going on here. No Lightning Helix. By the way, they just immediately passed that turn. Maybe this is just enough if they have, like, a handful of lands. It'll come in as a double striking 4/4. Can swing for 5 anyway, even if they remove this Helpful Weaver. Say they just have, like, Seam Rips and lands. Seam Rip. Okay. What else you got? What if they just have, like, 3 Jeskai Revelations in hand? I'm gonna go for it. Definitely take this window if you're presented with it. Nice. All right, good game 1. Managed to dodge their Jeskai Revelation mana. 1 turn away. Bring in the Sieges. Bring the Ox. Man, this deck is sweet. Cut down on the Shelter by Ghosts. Not going to be a whole lot of targets, although the Ward 2 is not irrelevant here. Shard Mage's Rescue doing a lot of heavy lifting. Let's cut down on the Ethereal Armors as well. Actually, let's cut down on the Seam Rips. We can maybe keep a couple in. to like hit their seam rip their seam rips, but we don't really want maybe more than one ever. Yeah, just go down to one. Try it like this. One sheltered by ghost, one seam rip. I think that's okay. I think that's okay. Sweet deck, man. I'm having a blast. Getting a little lucky here and there, but still, really the lucky thing is like our opponents just aren't prepared for this. Gonna keep this hand, not the best into what we're playing against, but the curve out's not too bad. I like that we have the Bulwark Ox. They might be tempted to just kill the Scavenger right off the bat, which might open the Ox up to be able to like go Ox, put a counter on the Aerialist, and then we have a pretty resilient threat there. Swinging for one. I guess I'm just gonna cast an Aerialist here. I'd rather they counter the Aerialist than counter the Ox. I think they'll feel pretty compelled to normalize this. Windcrag Siege. Great draw. We don't have the red for it quite yet. Swinging for one again. Could have like a Tishana's Tidebinder here. See if they're interested in taking that. Okay, they do. Yeah, it'll work out nicely for them. Let's go for the Ox here. Let's get another Scavenger on the field. They could have a board wipe. That's how she goes sometimes, I suppose. Not playing out as the best hand so far. I mean, if we draw like a Sacred Foundry exactly right now, or a Verge, could be okay. Seam Rip looking a little awkward, our one of. Helix. Sacrifice the Ox to keep them off of the life gain. Sacred Foundry. Okay, do they have an annul for this? Perhaps? Ooh. Get a little Windcrag Siege action. No attacks. Pass it back to ya. Do you have Get Lost? I'd love to just draw a land and start doing like Abandoned Air Temple stuff. Maybe we Ethereal Armor on the token. Seems okay. Hold back our Wonderweave Aerialist here. Maybe start swinging in with this Goblin. 4/4 lifelink first strike. Blocks with the Tidebinder. Going for a board wipe next turn, perhaps. It's working. It's working. Just gotta dodge Jeskai Revelation. I think we might be able to win through a Jeskai Revelation if they don't have like the counter backup to counter the Windcrag Siege. They discard one of their Revelations. Probably means they have another one in hand here, Day of Judgment. Or maybe they just have no lands. Oh. Most Helpful Weaver. Okay, I think I'm going to go for that over the Aerialist here at this juncture. Maybe they Spell Pierce this. No, I have 2 mana up. Swinging for 1. Little Hasty Goblins. They hold my auras really nicely. Gonna hold on to this Aerialist. Really, we just want another land. Start activating the Air Temples and force the issue here. Demonic Ruckus. Sure, we can go for a counter here. And then I think I can afford to Ruckus a Goblin. You know, they could just kill the Goblin, deny me the card draw here, but in some ways I'm getting a lot of advantage anyway, just by the nature of producing a Goblin every turn. So I think I can afford to lose out on that. Swing it in. Pass it back. Consult the star charts. Probably going to be able to hit some action here. Day of Judgment. Fair enough. Get to draw off this Ruckus. Another land. Not untapped, but we'll take it. Another land. Not untapped, but we'll take it. Give double strike to my 1/1 goblin here. They're thinking about killing it, maybe? Swinging for 2. Tapped Vantage. I think we can play an Aerialist here. They won't be able to Jeskai Revelation this Aerialist. I guess they could just no moralize it here. Yeah, that's fine. Not really dealing with the root of the issue, which is this Windcrag Siege. Land. Has Jeskai Revelation mana. Make a goblin. They probably should have just gone for it. I don't know. Now I get to, like, swing in and put counters on my guys. Oh, it's just a lightning helix. Yo. Sick. Coil and catch. Passes up on a Day of Judgment. I wonder if they finally hit their Get Lost. Maybe they just think about casting a Meringue River Regent. Bounce these. There's the Jeskai Revelation. Bounces the Windcrag Siege, but critically lets me recast it. And Gloria actually is really sweet with the Windcrag Siege, isn't it? Like being able to just swing and put counters on my goblins for free. I think I can go for a Helpful Weaver here. I don't think I have to rush to seam rip this Monk. Our life total's still pretty high. Lightning Helix on the Spider, perfectly fine. Let's see if they found a Get Lost for Windcrag Siege. Stock up, digging. Probably should have done that first. Pretty big monks. They Tishana's Tidebinder this trigger, which is totally fine with me. Sacred Foundry. Well, let's play the Gloria. While the coast is clear from counter magic at the very least. Seam Rip a Monk. I guess I just hold on to this land. I don't think it will super make a difference. We can swing in with like a double striking 2/2 Goblin next turn, maybe. No, they go for Seam Rip on the Most Helpful Weaver to keep me off of double strike. Boy, that doesn't seem worth it to me. I think I would have just held. They're at a comfortable 18 now. They've gained a lot of life off of their Helixes and Revelations, but I think they probably only have one Revelation left in the deck. Swing it in. No blocks. Curious to know what they have left in hand. If they have any more Tidebinders, they could like counter an Abandoned Air Temple trigger. I think I'm going to hold on to the Scavenger. I'm going to activate the Temple right now. Suss out whether they have a Tidebinder to block with. Torch on Gloria. Oh, okay. I guess I could have played around that. Still, we get to swing with a 2/2 Goblin. Start gaining a little life. See if they decide to block this. That's crazy talk. You're crazy for that one, dude. And play tapped land. Pass it back. Big consult the star charts. They're kind of running out of gas, though, right? In terms of like actual factual win cons. They're down 2 Tidebinders. They're down 2 Jeskai Revelations. I'm going to guess they're only on 3 Jeskai Revelations. Maybe even just 2. They need to Get Lost for this Windcrag Siege. There's a Gloria. That's kind of a sweet draw here. They could go for like a big 3 steps ahead on this Gloria. Big 3 steps ahead. Okay. Getting rid of their Day of Judgments is kind of sick for me. Lightning Helix on my 1/1 Goblin. What are you doing, bro? You're running out of ways to win the game. That's all of their Lightning Helixes. Coil and Catch. Do you have a Shiko in your deck? Stock up. What's going on? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Shocks themselves for 4 mana to be able to cast another Consult. Yo, Gloria? What up? Get in here. To be able to cast another Consult the Star Charts, I guess. Swing with my 2/2 Goblin. Modified, by the way. Do we have a Tishana's Tidebinder for the Gloria? A Braid Gloria. I guess you should have done that before combat if you were going to do it. Now my Goblin is a 2/2. They still haven't found an answer for Windcrag Siege. Another stock up. 17 cards left in the deck, by the way. And they've probably skipped on a million lands with their dig. Seam Rip. Beautiful. Oh, guess what? It's Goblin. Well, yeah, we can play a Summon Brynhilder here. They might have another Jeskai Revelation by now. But it might not be enough to close out this game. See what we hit here. Yeah, we'll play a land. Plan to rev up this Air Temple. Consult the Star Charts. Kicked. Seeing their whole deck almost, but how much action are they actually left with is kind of the question. And nothing really left that they can do this turn that's meaningful, I think. No more Helixes. They could have like a Torch. But once again, they're just like feeding the Windcrag Siege machine. They needed to draw a Get Lost about a million years ago. Another Consult. They're slowly coming to the realization that they have nothing left in their deck. And they might just scoop it up here pretty soon. I wonder if they cut the Get Losts because they didn't want to give me maps. That would be so sick. We haven't seen one. They might just be on their like damage-based removal and board wipes, and they have no answer to this Windcrag Siege. They can bounce it and then maybe counter it. Okay, Big Moraine River Region is definitely a way to win the game. They bounce their Seam Rip rather than giving me another draw with Brynhilder. But actually, I don't know. Big Goblins might still be enough to beat out this River Regent. Let's play the Scavenger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's play the other land so that we can maybe eventually double Abandoned Air Temple. A Braid. They might have another River Regent left in their hand or deck. Swinging for 6. Temple. Goblin. Demonic Ruckus. Yeah, I guess might as well go for it. We can't double Temple this turn. Put it on the lifelinker. See if they have a response to this. Hi, Maple. My dog Maple just joined us. 3 steps ahead, counter, create a copy of the River Regent. Okay. Well, that might be enough to close out this game. We had a good run, though. I thought for a second that we were going to get there with these goblins, but I think they might get there in the final hour themselves. 9 cards left in the deck. Jeskai Revelation. That'll do her. Good game, Nebuchadnezzar. Good game. Let's move it into game 3. They'll probably bring in their Get Losts, but we get to play, which is kind of huge for us. Maybe we bring in Unwanted Remake sort of as like an extra form of protection. Or we can destroy our own creature just to have creatures around. Kill off the big late game river regents. It's probably better than the Seam Rip for that reason. And then maybe we even like cut a land because, like it or not, this game's pretty likely to go long. Yeah, cut a Ruckus. Try it like that. Interesting game. I'd love to win this match. I'd love to win the next 2 matches, in fact, and get a sick 5-0. But to be honest, I'm pretty happy with the run that I've had so far here. So we'll take what we can get. I mean, great start. You know, we get to do the Ruckus into Aerialist thing, which, you know, if they're on the Torch plan, which they are, it lines up pretty nicely into. And we also get this Windcrag Siege. Pretty ideal hand. Yeah, it's shaping up really nicely. So we'll go Aerialist. Ruckus on the Aerialist. They can't torch this. And then if they decide to answer this, I don't know, maybe we just get to jam the Windcrag Siege next turn. I'm not going to run it into counter magic, though, I think. Sheltered by Ghosts. Extra Ward. I think I'm just going to jam this. If they don't counter it, they may come to regret that in the long term. And then, like, starting to gain some extra life here over the course of some turns is pretty relevant in this matchup. And now they can't just, like, easily Seam Rip the Aerialist as well. Helix my face. Okay. Stock up. Ooh, we have a window. We have a window. So now we're not that soft to board wipes anymore. Sunbillow Verge. Yeah, we're just going to jam this. Swing for 4. Looking really good. Let's see if this is enough pace to close out the game, though, you know? It just might not be fast enough. That's kind of the question we have to be asking ourselves. Getting to draw a card off the Ruckus here is pretty nice. Another Aerialist, that's nice. Double Brynhilder gives us a lot of pace, actually. Getting the haste here. Yeah, we'll just go with Brynhilder into Ox. Pretty nice play here. We can sacrifice the Ox to give Brynhilder indestructible and hexproof here if we need to, if they play another Day of Judgment. Creatures you control with counters on them gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. It's lining up pretty nicely here. We can counter this Lightning Helix by sacrificing the Ox, keeping their life total low. Follow it up with a Torch. I think they kind of did that wrong. They should have gone for the Torch on the Ox, right? I guess it wouldn't have mattered. Yeah, it would have mattered, actually. They would have gained 3. Bit of a goof from our opponent. Yeah, let's go for the Brynhilder again here. See what we hit. Another Windcrag Siege. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Do you have Spell Pierce or Annul? No? Okay. Oh, baby. Whew. Okay. You got a big Meringue River Regent? No. It's looking pretty good. Could win another match here. Looking pretty good. Ranking up. Shocks themselves. Huge for us. Why would they shock themselves? Tishana's Tidebinder, I guess? Just to keep me off of a single goblin? Okay. Summon Brynhilder. So we get a hasty guy here. I think we want a hasty Brynhilder over Aerialist. Although, because we don't have a way to modify the Aerialist here. Another Windcrag Siege. Oh, baby. Oh. Did you do your homework? Did you pack Cease Desist? Can you kill 3 enchantments in 1 turn? Come on. Windcrag Siege. It defines the meta. You gotta be prepared. Stock up. It's not gonna do it, Nebuchadnezzar. It's not gonna do it. Dude. Oh, baby. You haven't lived until you have 3 Windcrag Sieges on the board against Jeskai control. Wow, these hits, dude. Double summon Brynhilder into Windcrag Siege. What do you do? And we get a hasty aerialist, so I don't think they can do anything here. They might seam rip. Okay, that was a bit of a mistake. Maybe I guess I don't know. Okay, now they're dead. Officially dead for reals. So we get a hasty aerialist off of the summon Brynhilder. We shard mages rescue it. It's got flying. Oh, what a match. What a match. Nice, dude. So sick. Let's let's move into match 5. Hopefully I can seal the deal, get that sweet 5-0. All right, final match here. On the draw, up against a homeless man. I mean, I'm going to keep this. Turn 1 tap land, but that's okay. Double Scavenger. Really, really fast hand. It looks like we're against some kind of Ouroboros deck, which is pretty much exactly where we want to be. We can almost even afford to just like start souping up a Scavenger, to be honest with you. But, I mean, this is just as fast as playing Verge on turn 1, so probably makes sense to go in on the aerialist anyway. We'll see if they have a really fast start. Might be a little too much to overcome. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go Scavenger, Seam Rip on the Weaver here. And then I can invest in a Scavenger, no problem, pretty much, especially game 1 here. They're not really going to have any kind of removal. Maybe they have an Into the Floodmaw here, but even that's just, like, fine. Not the end of the world. And maybe they, like, give me a fish and give me my Seam Rip back. That seems pretty bad for them. Detect Intrusion. Oh, okay. Interesting. Land. Do they have the Boyd? Elf. No Boyd. Maybe they set up into, like, double draw off of... Oh, no. They kind of have nothing. Okay. Well, maybe we just make this Scavenger turn it into the Abyss here. And just, like, start Ethereal Armoring. I think maybe I go second Scavenger, Ethereal Armor on this Scavenger and start swinging in. I don't have great, like, tools to give this evasion outside of Demonic Ruckus, but this is going to, like, start chipping away if they don't start chumping. I'm focused up. No red yet. Stingerback Terror. Literally, who cares? Literally, who cares? You got your 4 mana 6/6. That's nice. That's nice for you. Okay. Well, we get to go Multiversal Passage on red. You know, I probably should have done it on white anyway. We'll go summon Brynhilder. We can soup up both of these Scavengers. Force them to chump the force them to chump a Scavenger, essentially. Which should be pretty much about GG. I guess they could have like a Detect Intrusion, which would counter nothing actually here. And they're just totally unprepared for this. Taking the meta by storm. Optimistic Scavenger. I guess do your homework and maybe bring some removal rather than being like all in on this ramp plan. Maybe you pack some removal in the main deck. Quantum Riddler. Car. Land. Well, we have double Abyss here. We have a Seam Rip. We can go Aerialist, give it haste, Seam Rip a... yeah, I think this is lethal. Oh, I don't have triple white that I need for that play. Okay. If I guess I just go for a Helpful Weaver here. Start putting counters on this summon Brynhilder. It doesn't really matter, I suppose, what I do with these counters. They can just chump here. And then Brynhilder's going to die anyway. Yeah, there's not really a reason to put the counters on. Oh, I guess I could also Seam Rip. I think I'm missing lethal here by doing this. I forgot I also had this Seam Rip. At the very least, I can force them to chump with the Riddler. But yeah, I definitely missed lethal. I should have just put counters all in the Brynhilder there. Gotten in for 6. Anyway, learn from my mistakes. Let's go for the Petrifies. Go for the unwanted remakes here. Once again, cut down on the Brynhilders. I think you could also make an argument for cutting 1 Gloria, perhaps. And then... always leaving the Shard Mages rescues. People have removal in their sideboard. Cut a land on the draw. Try it like this. Hopefully we can get that sweet 5-0, dude. That would be so sick. That would be so sick. I think this deck is pretty sweet. Got a lot of synergistic openers, like very fast synergistic openers. I think this is a good hand. We can just kind of go in on the Ruckus plan, soup up a big spider, and hold up the Shard Mage's rescue for it. It makes sense probably to me to like delay this play by 1 turn, just so I have access to protection. Scavenger actually changes that entirely, so we can go Scavenger and go for the Ruckus here now. Hold up this Shard Mage's rescue. Rex Sage. Okay. On the Ruckus is totally fine with me, dude. It takes away the evasion, but lets us draw a card. Oh, Sheltered by Ghosts. Okay. I think I maybe do Sheltered by Ghosts this Weaver, although I could lose to an Ouroboros in the long term that way. So maybe I just go for a spider of my own. Instant speed removal for an Ouroboros, kind of huge. Let's go for the Helpful Weaver. It has the highest potential damage play with the double strike. Eventually. Get to swing in. And we get to hold up instant speed removal and protection here. Unwanted Remake, kind of a slept on card, but pretty huge here, right? Vivian Reed. Okay, not hugely important. It can kill my most helpful Weaver, but who fucking cares? I don't know. Who cares? You gotta like roll it up, right? Yeah. Boyd. Yep, who cares? Pollinator, who cares? We can Shelter by Ghosts, the Vivian Reed, swing in with a huge Scavenger. Land is probably a pretty good draw here. We're going the distance. Shelter by Ghosts. All in, baby. Exile Vivian Reed, counter on the Scavenger, and then next turn we have a Menace Trampling, double striking Scavenger, and we have protection through a whole lot. We can swing in with this Spider, take them off of a creature while they are pretty much required to block this, and I think we did it. I mean, there's not a whole lot they could have outside of like, I don't know. These decks don't really run the kind of interaction they would need to be able to deal with this, I think. Stop in their main, I suppose. Go for an unwanted remake on the Boyd. I don't think this is super relevant. What could I get blown out by if I go for this? Not really sure. Manifest Dread. Swinging out. They're not afraid of anything. They could have like a Detect Intrusion on this Most Helpful Weaver trigger. Nope. Double Strike. Trampling, Menace. Beautiful little creature that we've crafted here. And a sweet, sweet 5-0 with an absolutely dazzling finish. Wow, what a run. Good game. Really, really good showing. I think every card had its day in the sun. Sweet deck. Not super duper expensive right now. $160, a pretty good aggressive budget option. Honestly, like, let's be real, all of the cost is in the lands here pretty much for Multiversal Passage. So if you already own these lands, maybe this is an interesting option for you to, I don't know, pull out at your next FNM or recommend to a friend that likes these aggressive sort of white strategies, but doesn't necessarily want to build like the mono red meta deck. Fun run, absolutely great deck. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked videos like this where I'm coming up with, you know, standard brews and testing them up against the MTGA ranked ladder every day, why don't you stop on by again and I'll be here. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.